outstanding to the Mayor of the City of Clarence, Councillor Brendan Longley.
Well, hello, welcome all. Before proceeding, I pay my respects to the Murrumbidgee people as the traditional and original custodians of the land on which we meet, and I acknowledge the continuing connection of the Tasmanian Aboriginal people to the skies, land and waterways. I pay respect to elders past and present. Before we commence with tonight's council meeting, please let us all pause for a quiet moment of reflection and respect. Please remain standing. Today I represented the city at the Tasmania Police Remembrance Day ceremony and laid a wreath in honour of those who sacrificed their lives in the line of duty. National Police Remembrance Day is held throughout Australia and the South West Pacific region on or about the 29th of September each year, the feast day of St Michael, who is a patron saint of police officers, paramedics, firefighters and the military. On this day, we especially remember Constable Keith Smith, who died in June of this year in the line of duty. Thank you, councillors. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Well, good evening and welcome to the Clarence City Council meeting on Monday, the 29th of September 2025. This meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube, and what is said in this meeting is not protected by privilege, and there is a link to the agenda papers on Council's website. Item number 2, apologies. I have an apology from Councillor Hume, otherwise we have a full house this evening. Item 3, declarations of interest of councillors or close associate. Are there any declarations? There being none, we now head into our omnibus items. Item 4.1, confirmation of the minutes. That the minutes of the council meeting held on the 8th of September 2025 have been circulated. Are there any issues arising? We now move on to Mayor's Communications 4.2. Colleagues, from the outset, I want to address the interaction that occurred at our last council meeting between Councillor James and me. I have previously discussed the requirements of the meeting procedures, including why I considered Councillor James to be in breach of those requirements. I don't propose to discuss the meeting procedures further tonight, for they are clear. What I would like to address is the fact that arguing with the decisions of the Chair is unacceptable. That has happened now between Councillor James and myself on 3 occasions. It is unnecessary and unedifying. It should always be the case that directions of the Chair be followed without the need to raise voices and argue. It is as simple as that. I've always said that debate in this place should be robust and respectful. Also, we must all comply with the meeting procedures. Those rules apply to all of us, councillors and members of the public alike, and none of us should condone or excuse behaviour that fails to meet that standard. As Chair, while it is not my preferred outcome, I will necessarily address behaviour that does not meet the meeting procedure requirements, because that is a standard we should all expect as a minimum. I hope that we can all meet that standard tonight and for the remainder of this term. Moving on to 4.2.2, the Mayor's Diary. That's been circulated. My engagements from the 9th of September through to the 29th of September through to today. I'd also like to thank the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Kennedy for representing me as well as listed in the diary entries. Colleagues, I'm delighted to share that our Manager of Waste, Infrastructure and Natural Assets, Mr Michael Young, won the Local Government Professional Award at the recent awards in Devonport, only of last week. Many of us are familiar with Mickey's outstanding efforts that have revolutionised waste management, resource recovery and the circular economy in our city. So on behalf of a grateful city, I'd like to warmly congratulate Mickey and thank him for his ongoing efforts to make our city and our environment a better place for all. Colleagues may also be aware that Tolpuddle Vineyard on Back Tea Tree Road, Richmond, realised success at the International Wine Challenge Awards in London with their 2023 Chardonnay claiming Champion White Wine. It's always wonderful to see our businesses in the Coal River Valley receive rightful recognition on the international stage, particularly as it reinforces our reputation as a destination for world-class wine and tourism. I wrote to the owners of Toll Puddle, Mr Martin Shaw and Mr Michael Hill-Smith of Shaw & Smith, to congratulate them on this recent accolade and to thank them for their continuing contribution to the prosperity and profile of the City of Clarence, and I table a copy of that correspondence. Thank you, CEO. Earlier today, I was very proud to officially launch Council's Reflect Reconciliation Action Plan. As many of us know, this plan has been many years in the making, shaped through genuine consultation with Reconciliation Tasmania, our staff, the RAP working group and members of the Tasmanian Aboriginal community. The RAP provides a clear mechanism to embed relationships, respect and opportunities across our organisation and acknowledges the importance of truth-telling, drawing on work such as the Interpreting Aboriginal Heritage in Clarence report by Tony Brown. So to the Chair of the RAP Working Group, Councillor Beth Warren, thank you to you and all members of the working group for your outstanding efforts in this very important area, and the other members as well, of course. I would particularly like to acknowledge the work of Miss Jane Menzies, who has largely been the driving force behind this milestone. So, Ms Coburn, if you could please extend our thanks to Ms Menzies, that would be greatly appreciated. But congratulations again to all involved. It really is a fantastic event today and a historic milestone for our city. So thank you all. As I said earlier today, endorsement of our RAP is not an endpoint, but it's a beginning. A public commitment to continuing listening, learning and acting together. Together, step by step, we are building a future grounded in truth, respect and reconciliation, and that is something we all deserve to be justly proud of. So moving on, council workshops as listed in the agenda. 4.4, tabling of petitions. CEO, are there any petitions?
No, Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Moving on to 4.5, reports from outside bodies. The first one being the Copping Refuse Disposal Site Joint Authority. Councillor Walker. Thank you. Councillor Warren for Taswaith South. And there's nothing to report on either the Taswater Corporation or the Greater Hobart Committee. Are there any other reports for tabling tonight? Councillor Chong.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have provided the Cycling South draft AGM and the September minutes for tabling.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to table the minutes of the Active Living Advisory Committee from 23rd June 2025.
Thank you very much. There being no other reports, moving now on to 4.6, the weekly briefing reports. The weekly briefing reports of the 8th, 15th and 22nd of September 2025 have been circulated to councillors. Are there any matters arising? Councillor Chong.
Obviously, looks like someone's going to stand up. Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the weekly briefing of the 8th of September, it talks about the anticipated date of the bushfire mapping public platform being the end of September. Can I just check if that is still on track for the end of September and if we will be notified when it's available?
You're putting the Geoneon work. That was actually launched last Wednesday.
I couldn't see anything about it.
So it is publicly available now online.
Cool.
But we partnered with City of Hobart, Kingborough and Doon Valley to deliver that.
The disadvantage of being sick.
So yes, certainly, yeah. But it's a fantastic tool and it's great to see that it's being used as widely as it is. Thank you, Councillor Chong. Councillor James.
Thank you. The weekly briefing report of the 8th of September. The first item is in relation to Targa Fest at the Bellreef Quay. This is great to see Clarence is going to play a pivotal role in relation to this. But my question is in relation to the traffic management plan, including temporary road closures on the Cambridge Road between Queen Street and Clarence Street, Percy and the Bellreef Boardwalk. Will those business owners and any other people in that vicinity be advised of these changes?
Councillor James, I can report I was down there last Friday, I believe, for the media launch, that there has been wide engagement with those business owners by Ms Wicks's team. But Ms Wicks, would you like to care to add to that?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, our economic development and communications team have done extensive engagement in the area. They've done door knocks, letterbox drops, And in the lead up to, we'll continue to engage and consult with the broader community.
Thank you. And can I also just add to that as well that overall it's been very positively received. There won't be any food trucks there or any competing providers coming in from outside, if you like. So it will be the businesses in that precinct that ought to benefit greatly. So if it's for that reason, it's been very positively considered. Yeah, they have 60 cars there, 2 drivers and all the families and other supporters that will drive there. It's really quite exciting. Anything else, Councillor James?
Yes, on the same weekly briefing report of the 8th of September and on page 11, budget variations, I seek clarification from the CEO in relation to the Norma Street Road reconstruction of $350,000 and that money has been sort of directed to major dig-outs of the same value. Does that exceed the CEO's $250,000 limit, or is that a number of dig-outs that are in fact add up to that $350,000?
Thank you, Councillor James. CEO.
Thank you. I might actually default that question to Mr Graham.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mr Graham.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the works have been undertaken by Council's crew, so there's no actual delegations required for external services to be sought on this project. All it is a pure sort of, in a sense, journal transfer from a major dig-out pool money that Council has adopted to a selected project.
Thank you, Mr Graham. Councillor James.
Just on follow-up to that, I understand it's done within house as part of our own team, but I thought that there was a limit on budget variations. If it does exceed 350, over 250, then it's a matter for, I thought, Council.
CEO. Ms Murrell, thank you.
Through you, Mayor, as Ross alluded to, the project is major dig-outs, and within major dig-outs there are many minor projects, and we split the money out. So it's actually staying within major dig-outs, it's just renaming it so it's easier for us to pay the bills against particular projects.
Thank you, Ms Murrell. Councillor James.
The 15th of September, applications currently under appeal. I note that there is a reference to, on the last page, page 11, the signage, the LED billboard at 20 Loyna Crescent, Montague Bay. The appeal with Tascat has been withdrawn and proceedings are listed with the Supreme Court on the 17th of September 2025. Just wanted to know and confirm that is the date that it has been submitted to the Supreme Court.
Mr Marr.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor James, for the question. That date just was the first listing for the proceedings where the parties are established and the terms of reference are established. So that's occurred, but I think the next exchange of evidence, etc., I think is somewhat into the future, into November or thereabouts. When we have more information, I'll update it through the weekly briefing report.
Thank you, Mr Marr. Thank you, Councillor James. Any other matters in the weekly briefing reports? All right, I know we're at the end of our omnibus items. Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Goyne. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Moving now on to item 5, which is public question time. There are some questions from Mr Bradley Walker of Howrah listed in the agenda. CEO, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr Walker asked 2 questions. The first question is in relation to Bayview Secondary College, seeking an update. The question is, can Council please update on the progress of Bayview Secondary College Sports Precinct Plan and provide an expected start date for this project, and if there isn't one, what Council are doing to make this project happen? The answer to that question is the following master plan approval by the Council in October 2021, we undertook a detailed feasibility study and business case to understand the development in greater detail and provide a solid case to proceed. The business case was completed and presented to councillors in mid-2023. Community consultation on the business case opened in early September 24 and closed in late December 2024. Council adopted the final business case in early 2025. Council is attending ongoing meetings with federal and state MPs to discuss funding opportunities for the project, as well as holding discussions with sporting associations to explore future partnerships. Until funding is secured, Council will not be in a position to determine a project start time. Dependent on funding received, the project may progress in stages. The second question from Mr Walker is regarding Council's purchase of 30 Gordons Hill Road in Rosny. The question is, with the Council's purchase of the office building at 30 Gordons Hill Road in Rosny, can Council provide details whether this property will be running at a loss or profit, and for what period of time does Council see this happening? The answer to the question is that 30 Gordons Hill Road is currently leased until January 2027. While the lease is in place on a cash basis, any expenditure on the building is fully offset by lease income received. Council is currently undertaking a needs analysis of what the building will be used for post-January 2027. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Moving on to 5.3, the answer to Mr Walker's question for the last meeting is also listed in the agenda. 5.4, questions without notice. Are there any questions from the gallery this evening? Mr Marsh, your name and suburb, please.
Victor Marsh, Bilwee Bluff. I'm quite concerned about the repeated damage to the bollards outside Cabbage's Flower Shop and Cripps Bakery, where outdoor diners gather. If the purpose of the bollards is to protect pedestrians, it is also concerning they are not being repaired promptly. How will the Council assure the community that the bollards are the correct design for a high-risk pedestrian vehicle conflict area and fit for purpose of keeping the community safe?
Thank you, Mr Marsh. Mr Graham.
Through Mr Mayor, I'll take that one on notice so I understand exactly what sort of bollards we are using and are they appropriate for the area, and advise Council through a weekly briefing report, and also can write to Mr Marsh if need be.
Thank you, Mr Graham. And the answer will also be provided in the minutes as well, Mr Marsh. Mr Carr, thank you.
David Carr from Drudy Point. The Nyuka Street in Gilston Bay, my family recently did a subdivision there. It's bordered on one side by Council Bushland Reserve. Now, it's very difficult because of the bushfire attack levels for people to build houses there and do it safely and get on with it. Lo and behold, the council have now planted a dozen wattle trees along the boundary, just outside the rear boundary. Why on earth would you do that? They're not even indigenous to the area. They're certainly not endemic to the area. So it just increases the bushfire hazard.
And the question, Mr Carr?
The question is, why?
Okay, thank you, Mr Carr. Mr Graham.
Through Mr Mayor, I'll take that one on notice and advise Council.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll also write to Mr Carr with that response. Well, thank you, Mr Carr. All right, there being no more questions from the gallery, move on to item 6, deputations. Are there any deputations, CEO?
Thank you, Mayor. No deputations tonight.
Right, thank you very much. Moving now on to item number 7. Beg your pardon? No, you need to lodge it in the correct way, Mr. Carr. Well, the rules are there for a reason. I'll be applying them equally and fairly across the board to everybody. So, thank you, Mr. Carr. But we look forward to your next meeting. Item number 7. We now move on to the Planning Authority matters. And I advise that Council now intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993. Moving on to item number 7.1, creation of delegations for manager compliance and enforcement by council acting as the planning authority. Moved by the Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Hunter. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This one's fairly straightforward and we've workshopped it in line with the budget allocation that was approved by Council. We see the recommendation to establish the new role of Manager of Compliance and Enforcement to oversee Council's regulatory compliance, investigation and enforcement services. Obviously, we need to entail the appropriate delegations to enable that new position to the person in that new position to be able to go about their business with the appropriate delegations and powers to do their job. As colleagues are aware, there's a second component to this later on in the agenda. I'll be looking forward, and I know some colleagues have raised issues about appointment of additional personnel, and quite rightly, we should be looking to make sure that these sorts of positions do earn their keep, so to speak, that they do add the benefit that we'd like to see in terms of efficiencies and outputs. So I'm sure we'll all be very keen to see what benefit this position brings to this area of Council's activities, but I'm really keen to see how the benefit that it will bring for our staff, and I'm very pleased to support the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, happy to support this motion, and regulation and compliance is probably one area of council that should be heavily resourced, but it's often not resourced. It's often where a lot of issues from the community stem from and can't get resolved because we don't have the resources. So I very much support both the new position and the delegations which this motion raised for that position to hold, and would be very happy to support further resourcing in this part of council.
Thank you, Councillor Hunter. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor James and then Councillor Mulder. Thank you, Councillor James.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have discussed this at one of our workshop. At the time, the matter was discussed on budget. I did not support those extra positions being approved within the budget for 25-26, and this particular position was included in the discussions at the time in relation to the budget estimates. And as it is in the minutes, I did not support that, nor did I support the 5+% increase in the rates, which included a number of these positions. Over the years, and I don't want to go into any great detail, but there has been a couple of positions for the enforcement, compliance and enforcement, and it's my understanding that included in this particular creation of the delegations for the Manager of Compliance and Enforcement, that would entail a new position, which I've just referred to in the budget process, and that would oversee at least two others within that particular, I won't call it department, but within that particular area. So I can't quite understand as to why we need to have this position. As I mentioned, I did not support the creation of that position when it went through the budget process, and I will not be supporting this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Mulder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It will come as no surprise that I'm very much concerned about the continuing growth, not only of Clarence, but the disproportionate growth between those in executive management position, those in management positions, those and those in policy and advisory positions, when I think our day labour force and those engaged in minor maintenance repair and those engaged in things like the mowing schedule, which every year we get criticism because there isn't enough of it going on, yet here we are in more management positions. Compliance and enforcement is what this role is. This is about a delegation to a forthcoming position to enable that person to do the exercise. So you might wonder, well, sorry, who's doing this now? To whom are these decisions delegated now? Well, they're already delegated to other people, but now we're going to create a new position to do even more delegations too. And it's not about more compliance. It's not about more enforcement. It's about the management of more enforcement. And that's happening today. Look, I'm not casting anything upon the staff that work for us, and I'm not saying anything like that. But there's got to be a limit to the growth of these areas. There's got to be a limit to the number of times we have people supervising people, managing people, and then supervisors managing the supervisors. And it's just, I mean, I've lived in a very large organisation, and we went through a process called business process re-engineering. And the whole idea of that was to flatten the administrative structure and increase the operational structure. And I don't see that in the way this council is proceeding. Now, others have different views, and I'm sure that's the thing, but that is my particular position. Now, I can't do anything else, but if you're going to have this position, then we have to delegate to them the work. My question is a bit more fundamental. Just how important is it to manage enforcement and compliance in a single thing when there's quite clearly being done across the board at the moment?
Thank you, Councillor Mulder. Councillor Kennedy, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just ask through you to the appropriate officer, how many staff will this person supervise?
I can tell you about 20 plus across areas, ranges, building and plumbing, etc. So it's quite extensive.
Thank you.
Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Walker, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And it is an unusual thing for a position to be coming forward to us around this. Normally things go in the budget, some of us query them and then they just go through. I understand the rationale for it, although I understand there are also ways and means that it has been in operation for quite some time. So there may be other contributions that may sway my mind, but in general, I'm not usually predisposed to the growth of the entity, to the growth in space, which might be seen as a more red tape, or might be purported as providing super delegation. Super delegates are not a very good part of certain organisations.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Anyone else wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Warren, thank you.
Debating the position has been created. What we're debating is whether or not to allow that position to carry out their role. So this is about whether we give them the delegations that they require to do their role. It's a yes or no on that, not on whether or not the position should exist.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Deputy Mayor, right of reply, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Warren's exactly right. As I pointed out in my opening contribution, this budget allocation has already been through Council and approved, so we aren't having the debate about the position per se, just to enable the person occupying this role to have the necessary delegations to carry out the functions required. Obviously, it would be at odds with our previous decision. Were we not to support this motion, would be very peculiar indeed. I can appreciate and understand where councillors are coming from in relation to wanting to make sure that we are running as efficiently and as effectively as we can as a council. I've seen no evidence. In fact, in my dealings with the community, we are under-resourced in areas of enforcement in particular, and as the Mayor pointed out, this is not just one or two people being supervised. There is more than 20 plus staff involved in this role, rangers, planning enforcement, building and plumbing enforcement and so on. I look forward to seeing the benefit that this brings to that area of our operations, and I seek colleague support.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll put the motion. That is a recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? So carried. Council now concludes its deliberations as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993. Moving now on to item 8.1, determination of petitions tabled at the previous council meeting. CEO, are there any petitions? Thank you. 8.2, asset management. 8.2.1, the Waverley Flora Park Reserve Management Plan for 2025-2035 for adoption. There's a recommendation. I'll call for a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Seconded, Councillor James. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just very happy to see this go out to community consultation. Thanks for all the officers' work on this project.
Councillor James.
Yes, I'll be brief. Absolutely, the amount of work that has gone into this, and over a period of time, the consultation, obviously, from within some of the different community groups that have made some contribution to this. So I seek council support.
Thank you, Councillor James. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I likewise will be brief, but I felt it would be remiss of me not to share the view that this there's been an enormous amount of work go into this draft plan over a period of years from, of course, council officers and community making submissions to the process thus far. And, of course, this is about sending it back out for another round of consultation to enable the community to provide further feedback on the content and the actions contained within the plan. So we look forward to seeing the return of that and bring it back to council after that point. But it's a pretty impressive document, and I feel it deserves all the accolades that we can put forward to it today. I seek support.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else wishing to speak on this one? Councillor Kennedy, right of reply?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. So the recommendation before us is that Council approves the release of the draft Waverley Flora Park Reserve Management Plan 2025-2035 for community consultation. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, colleagues. 8.3, financial management. There are no items there. Moving on to 8.4, governance. 8.4.1, the Clarence City Heart Plan for adoption. And there's Councillor Walker, I understand you have an alternate motion that's been circulated.
Yes, I have an amended motion that is circulated, and I believe it's now up on the board. And I might wait for a second before.
Thank you. I'll just ask before I do that, are people at home able to view a copy? They're not. All right. So the difference here is B, which now reads that. Councillor Walker, would you like to read?
I'm very happy to step through it. For those that were watching at home, you currently may have an A, B and C. We'll basically consider that B and C will now become C and D, and there will be a new point B that reads that Council notes the City Heart Plan contains concepts and that each future project arising from the plan will be subject to Council's usual processes, including design, consultation, funding and approval.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Gordon, are you seconding the motion? Thank you very much. Councillor Walker, the floor is yours and the clock can start now. Thank you, Ms Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, I've put those points explicitly there to add more comfort and to make it better defined to both the community and to councillors in Chamber's future that this is an ongoing and evolving process. It is great to see the plan before us for adoption. It has been a long time coming. The process hasn't been a circus, but it has certainly been circuitous. I appreciate the efforts of staff through the journey to date and members of the community whose participation included taking the time to read over drafts, participating in forums, making submissions and deputations, and I'd also thank colleagues around the table for their input. Now, the City Heart Plan includes projects and concepts, some of which I admire, some of which I'm ambivalent towards, and some of which I consider deleterious. In endorsing this agenda item, the Council and future councils are not beholden to the City Heart Plan, lock, stock and barrel.
Freudian, yes.
With a capital F. It's a guide, it's conceptual, it will evolve, It will change, and in parts it must change. Let me be very explicit. If presented with advancing the parklands per this document exactly as it's drawn up in the concept design, I would reject it as it currently stands. But the plan is novel, and for this site, the parklands, it needs a lot more time, consideration and engagement. By year's end, it is likely staff will commence with construction of the circuit track around the Rosny Parklands, and this is a great value spend to deliver infrastructure to open up the park, allow more visitors to go to it and to actually get to know it, because there are many residents who have never set foot on the area. As councillors, we have inherited stewardship for a green space exceeding the size of the botanical gardens and adjacent to the CBD. The Clarence CBD, by the way, is but a block away from Kangaroo Bay. It's a short stroll to a swimming beach and a brisk bike ride to a mountain bike park. I ask you all now and always to think of how that stacks up with other council CBDs across the state, the nation and internationally, because I think it's pretty amazing. In securing 30 Gordons Hill Road, the opportunities for council to shape Rosny have strengthened. It provides time to ponder the best use of the building, this building, or perhaps the land it sits upon, and to drive more of the services needed into the CBD. I hope that the City Heart Plan will guide residential as well as commercial densification within the existing commercial activity areas. There is a lack of apartments in Clarence, and in the commercial area of this CBD is the best place for them. It's positioned near transport options, a bus interchange and a ferry, and a preserved recreation space, again in the parklands. So, as I've noted, the change in the agenda as listed is pretty minor in my amended motion. It's simply being more explicit about the fact that this will continue to evolve and continue to evolve. So, thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Goyne, please.
I'm not entirely sure what else I can add to that wonderful speech, but I particularly am grateful for the inclusion of B, noting that obviously the City Heart concept came before my time and will likely be ongoing long after my time in this space, despite the fact that other colleagues will probably still be here. And I'm incredibly grateful of the idea that, you know, we are reiterating to our community that has already had so much ups and downs in regards to this plan, that this is a concept, that there is still funding and approval processes that we have to go through, and that this will have different iterations, and there still will be the opportunity for the community to be involved. And I too look forward to the track starting, especially making it a little bit more accessible for people like me with some accessibility issues. And I look forward to the plan commencing and evolving and seeing what happens as the generations of councillors come forward and contribute to it. I seek colleague support.
Thank you, Councillor Goyne. Other colleagues wishing to speak on this matter, please. Councillor James, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And may I say that the Part B corrections, let's take my glasses off, sorry, that the reference to the Part C notes the final City Heart Plan has been updated in accordance with Council's resolution that all references to housing in Charles Hand Park be removed from the plan. So that, even though there's a concept that's been suggested or a vision, I could not possibly see within the short term anyway that there be a rescission of that motion, because by saying that, I think that the City Heart Plan precincts has really addressed where we go from here. And on page 24, it refers to Inner Warrain, a high quality and resilient residential neighbourhood, an affordable place to live offering diverse choices of housing, low rise or a mix of standard to medium density residential through redevelopment and consolidation. So we've moved from Charles Hand Park, from affordable housing, we've moved into what has been addressed, and consultation and the discussions from many people from within the community are supportive, as I understand of that. And also on page 24 under Central Warrane, a green neighbourhood, an affordable and diverse place to live close to education and the Warrane Greenbelt, and a mix of standard to medium density residential development. So the plan is good. It's basically saying we've got this area within Warrane, and also we have within the Bayfield Street car park, development there that can occur in relation to hospitality, retail, mixed use, health and high density residential above ground level. So we have identified certain areas within the city, and that's what's so great about the City Heart Plan. It's moved it into those areas where we can see over the longer term development of high, medium density development within that city. The other factor of this is, and I support it wholeheartedly, key places of the City Heart include the Bellary Village, Charles Hand Park, as I mentioned, the Council Chambers, Warrane, Kangaroo Bay, Rivulet and Rosny Park Bus Mall. I'm not going into any detail about that, but I know there needs to be something done in relation to what we can and see as development for the use of that area for the people in the community. Finally, may I say that on page 25 of the plan, it has really locked in my opinion, even though it's been a concept and a vision in one sense, that part of that area within the proposed parks and Rosny Parklands, we're going to have an arts and play park, an active park, a central park, a wild park. Now that needs to be, sort of developed in the stricter sense of the term, and finally the Warrane Green Belt. All of these have been identified in the plan and have opened it up for the community to enjoy and have the wonderful use of public open space and what the proposed parks of Rosny Parklands will offer to the community. I think this is an excellent plan and the concepts, and I look forward to seeing some of this take place. As has already been mentioned, the border walkway around the Rosny Parklands has been approved and was approved in the budget from $160,000, and I'm aware that will happen in the shorter term. I seek council's support.
Thank you, Councillor James. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Deputy Mayor, thank you. No, Deputy Mayor has the call. Councillor Motta, go next.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Planning and participation are the birthplace of possibility, and I think that's what City Heart is about. It's about a possible future, one that is being driven by a comprehensive and well-defined plan, but not a plan that is immovable, not a plan that provides an inflexible structure moving forward. And Councillor Walker is quite right to point that out in his contribution and his slight amendment to the motion to give comfort to that fact. But nevertheless, we should be celebrating what has been years in the making before those of us who are first time on council, and we're now lucky enough to see it come to fruition and bear fruit, hopefully this evening, and be lucky enough to see some of the works actually start to take place quite promptly. That will be a great pleasure for all of us. I'd like to thank all the community members, our staff that have communicated with us so diligently and so passionately in many instances over quite quite a number of years. Even as late as this weekend, I'm talking to people in the community about ideas that are actually already taken up in this plan, so I'm able to redirect them back to looking at the sorts of things we're doing that captures their interest. So it's a very thorough piece of work. I think it will hold our city in good stead for many years to come with the appropriate flexibilities built in, and it's a pleasure to be able to just speak in favour of the adoption this evening, and I'm sure councillors will provide the support it deserves.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Mulder, please.
Yes, thank you. I think this is about the fourth or fifth time in the last 5 or so years that I've debated this particular plan in the disguise of various things. During that time, I have been very consistent over a number of issues that are where this plan, despite the commendable motion, is still in an area where it is too prescriptive for my likings. I mean, we've got a plan now with building footprints and with potential building footprints and those sorts of things. And I would like to think that it would be extremely difficult to build any of those things or to create any of those kinds of spaces without at least taking out some of the trees. And we all know how the community feels about that. But if we're going to take out trees, then at least let it be the macrocarpa and the other pinus species that don't belong in that area, and at least let us have a look at about the appropriateness of some of the eucalypts that are colloquially known as widowmakers. And if you go for a walk up there now, and surprisingly few people seem to do that, but if you go for a walk up there now, you'll see large branches that have fallen out of trees, very close to areas where people walk. And we've got to look at some of those kinds of things. But in terms of the building footprint, the idea, like the housing units that were part of the original plan going back to day one, and they were completely missed by everyone because it was a concept plan until they realised they were going to be built, or they could be built there, and suddenly housing became inappropriate. I'm not going to reflect on decisions of council, but those things in the original iteration of the plan, that housing that was destined for Bastick Street, was actually going to be one of the prime funders for the development of this park. Taking that housing off the table has now left this as a plan without funding. So I just issue a caution. But my major beef from day one has been this plan should talk about pathways, it should talk about traffic management. And to this day, we are still confronted with the problem that Rosny Hill Road, the slip road, comes into the back of Eastland's shopping centre. And the only egress is through the car parks on private property of Rosny Hill. Today, frequently, the pedestrians who by law have a right to cross on the pedestrian crossings are actually, contrary to the law, prevented from working across there so that the traffic can flow. We have done nothing over 5 years about addressing the problem of getting a link between the Rosny Hill Slip Road and either and the Gordons Hill Road or Bligh Street through those things. We are compounding the problem. And there isn't a supermarket that I can think of that hasn't fallen for this problem of having a car park and a pedestrian access and the shops. And so you get the conflict between the traffic moving through what is basically a through road and the pedestrians. And that, on this case, is in private property. Why aren't we doing something about that Rosny Hill Slip Road? Either close it or connect it. And this plan does nothing about that, and I've been on it for years, and still it doesn't appear here. So you might have consulted with me, but you haven't listened. So I can't support this plan, but I haven't supported these plans at any time because I think they're too premature. We still don't know what's going to happen with the jewel in the crown, remember? the Shambroad Esplanade. Now, if anything was part of the City Heart Plan, that is right there in the connection in the social centre of the city, right next to the commercial heart of the city. So I just cannot support this plan. It is premature. If you came up with a series of footpaths, pathways and solved the actual traffic issues, and then you had potential future precincts without buildings on them, then we could go down the path. Sorry, I cannot, once again, support this plan.
Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Right, before we ask Councillor Walker for his right of reply, I'll enter the debate now as a councillor and not as your mayor, colleagues. And the Clarence City Heart Plan sets a bold framework for shaping our city's future. The plan outlines a vibrant, sustainable and connected Clarence, building on best practice consultation to ensure the diverse needs and aspirations of our community are considered. And we remain committed to delivering a plan that reflects the needs and aspirations of our community, and this is exactly what the final City Heart Plan represents. Our City Heart Plan paves a way to turn the Greater Clarence CBD from a regional hub into a more livable, vibrant, sustainable and connected city. Importantly, the plan has been shaped by community feedback and stakeholder insights, positioning Clarence at the forefront of a global movement to create more livable cities, places that reflect and express their unique cultural, social and landscape values in an authentic way. Simply put, we have listened to our community, and I thank them for their incredibly high level of positive engagement. I'd also like to thank Ms Wicks and her team for the incredible amount of work, sweat and tears that has been invested in this plan. The finished document really does speak for itself, so please know that your efforts are so greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. This is an exciting time for residents as we can now progress our plan to make Clarence a more welcoming and vibrant place to live, work and play. The plan outlines how the area could look in the future, with parks, shops and a mix of housing types, safe streets and spaces for all forms of community activities and events. And from my perspective, I am so very excited to get to work on the plan. People's positive perception of a city as a safe, sustainable and attractive place encourages them to visit, stay longer and spend more, which of course delivers significant community benefit. The final plan has been shaped by extensive community feedback collected over the past 5 years, with 72% of respondents to the final round of community engagement saying they supported the plan. And isn't that fantastic? The plan will now guide the future development of the Rosny CBD, Rosny Parklands, Rosny Farm and Barn, the Kangaroo Bay Precinct, Bellary Village, Charles Hand Park, Council Chambers and Lawns, Sheoak Point, Inner and Central Warrane, Kangaroo Bay Rivulet and the Rosny Park Bus Mall. Through a series of design principles, future development within the City Heart will balance cultural recognition, environmental sustainability, public spaces, economic growth, housing diversity and transport solutions. I will just say that it is important for people to realise that the City Heart Plan has just shy of $1 million currently funded for various upcoming projects. So notwithstanding the contribution of some colleagues earlier tonight, there's $954,000 currently funded for various upcoming projects, and that's at page 171 of our agenda at paragraph 7. So colleagues, as I said at the beginning, this plan sets a bold framework for shaping our city's future. And as we know, fortune favours the bold. So let's be bold, let's be visionary, let's take our city forward, and let's all support the Clarence City Heart Plan. Councillor Walker, your right of reply, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your contribution and that of others around the table. And I note the beef as issued by Councillor Moulder, but appreciate his contributions as well. Just to wrap it all up, again, it's high-level concepts and it is worth focusing on for the City Heart area, the region. And as I said earlier, and I want to re-emphasise again, a CBD with Kangaroo Bay but a block away, a mountain bike park within close distance that people that work in the CBD can probably access at lunchtime, close to public transport services, a beach but a short stroll away, and a parklands that exceeds that of the Botanical Gardens, right adjacent to the shopping centre. We have been bequeathed an amazing geographical inheritance that we can build on to make. We are blessed in ways that many other CBDs would love to have just parts of. We have multitudes of. So let's preserve those great elements and build upon and make better the CBD, and hopefully we'll get enough votes over the line for this to happen.
Well, thank you, Councillor Walker. And the amended recommendation, which is now the motion before the chair, and I thank colleagues all for your contributions this evening. I'll put the amended motion, the amended recommendation, the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I thought you'd moved then. Excuse me. We'll take it again. All those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Thank you. And that's carried. Thank you very much, colleagues. Moving now on to 8.4.2, the Clarence Emergency Management Committee vacancy. Councillor Kennedy, there's a recommendation before us, and so you'd like to make a nomination?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Walker for his time on this committee, and I'd like to nominate Councillor Chong.
Seconded by Councillor Warren. Thank you. Councillor Chong, are you comfortable to accept that nomination?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And if I might say, obviously, this is an area in which I have a lot of interest, having recently attended the Southern Tasmanian Emergency Planning Session in Richmond, but also with my other job as chair of a national Rotary organisation, we're heavily involved with National Emergency Management Authority, and the reason I missed the last council meeting was I was actually in South Australia for a National Drought Forum. So this is an area in which I have a lot of interest.
Thank you, Councillor Chong. Are there any other nominations? All right, there being no further nominations, and I would just like quickly to say too that Councillor Chong was at Richmond for that session, and thank you. You stayed for the whole day, so thank you very much. But I'd also like to thank Councillor Walker too for your service. Councillor Walker has been diligent and committed to this important role, and I thank you, Councillor Walker, very much and very sincerely for all your efforts over the past 3 years. It is greatly appreciated. There being no other nomination before the chair, I will reword Part B of the recommendation. So it'll read, the Council nominates Councillor Chong as proxy representative to the Clarence Emergency Management Committee. In fact, I can't do that. Councillor Kennedy will do that. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Warren. Thank you. All right. So that now becomes the motion before the chair, both A and B, and we'll now need to take them in ad seriatim. I'll put that motion. Is everyone clear on the motion? Excellent. All right. Put the motion. All those in favour?
To abstain.
Thank you. And Councillor Chong abstained, but congratulations and thank you. Right, moving now on to 8.4.3, delegations for the role of Manager of Compliance and Enforcement. There's a recommendation in front of us. I'll call for a mover, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Deputy Mayor, please.
As I indicated earlier, this is the second or the other side of the coin from our previous motion, and I seek colleague support.
Thank you. Councillor Kennedy? Thank you. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Mulder, please.
Just a point of explanation in relation to the question asked on this matter by Councillor Kennedy was that there are 27 people or so that are being managed in this particular area. I think my point behind wasn't the number of people being managed, it's the fact that those people are already being managed, and this is just a position that takes some of those managerial responsibilities of existing managers to create a new position to manage some of the stuff that was already being managed.
Any other colleagues wishing to make... Thank you, Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will just remind councillors that in the briefing we were made aware that this position has been the result of a slight restructure which improves efficiency for council staff.
Thank you, Councillor Hunter. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? There being none. Deputy Mayor, right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Spot on, Councillor Hunter. It is the result of a restructure. As I said earlier, I see no evidence before me that this is in any way an unnecessary additional resource that we're adding, and I seek colleagues' support.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? So carried. Thank you. Moving now on to item number 9, which is motions on notice. Councillor Goyne has a motions regarding inclusion. Is there a seconder for Councillor Goyne, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Goyne, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you. This motion is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory, arising from a series of small incidences that resonated deeply within me in various ways. Diversity refers to the presence of differences within a given setting encompassing a group of unique individuals from various backgrounds. This table truly exemplifies diversity, showcasing a wide range of political opinions and lived experiences, and I genuinely value each and every one of your contributions. This motion is cost-free, does not require that Council take any specific actions other than to demonstrate a gesture of kindness and acknowledge our dedication to true inclusivity. In the words of Werner Myers, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. So tonight I simply invite my colleagues to dance.
Thank you, Councillor Goyne. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I can probably start my contribution on this motion no better than repeating the words of Mahatma Gandhi when he said, no culture can live if it attempts to be exclusive. And I'm pleased to rise in support of Councillor Goyne's motion, and I thank her for bringing it for discussion tonight. At its heart, what Councillor Goyne has put forward is an affirmational motion that speaks to our ongoing commitment as a council and as a community to treating everyone with fairness, dignity, equity and opportunity for all. Inclusion is about creating a sense of belonging for everyone. It means recognising and valuing the diversity of individuals and groups and ensuring that everyone has equal access to opportunities and resources. Inclusion is not just about physical access, but it's also about creating a culture of respect and understanding. Inclusivity is so important because it creates environments where everyone feels valued, respected and empowered to contribute, which is essential for building equitable societies and fostering a sense of belonging that provides everyone with the opportunity to thrive and to succeed. And Councillor Goyne's reference to Werner Myers was a charming one, and indeed, for me personally, championing the rights of others to dance is particularly delightful when I'm championing people whose views I actually oppose. For me, that's when our approach to inclusion shines the most. And it's motions like the one put forward by Councillor Goyne today that are important because under Section 20 of the Local Government Act, we do have a responsibility to provide for the health, safety and welfare of the community. And I'm sure that I'd not be the only councillor here this evening that's had concerns raised with them in more recent times about safety and inclusion, particularly from people from migrant communities. Like any approach to policy, cultural norms and behaviours, it is healthy to revisit and question on a regular basis because any step that we can make to be more inclusive is a huge step forward in creating a more welcoming community for all. And inclusion is a collective effort that we all have to jump into and develop our inclusion lens, because I appreciate that for some people, conversations about inclusion and diversity can be uncomfortable, and I know many people are still afraid of not knowing what to say or thinking they're doing the wrong thing. But it's by engagement and ongoing education that we can all build our inclusion competence and grow the capacity to move from awareness to action in our everyday lives. So we can continue to promote education, listening and learning, creating respectful and inclusive environments and challenging negative attitudes and behaviour. I know in Clarence we want everyone to feel welcome, supported and included, no matter their culture and heritage, race, religion, age, sexuality or gender. I'm pleased to work with Council with all of the positive things that we have done and continue to do, and I encourage councillors to support the motion for the spirit in which it's intended.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor James, thank you.
Thank you, and I understand where you're heading in relation to this motion and unwavering commitment to fairness, dignity and equitable opportunities for all members of our community. Now, we've had a couple of other instances in this place where motions have come forward. Councillor Kennedy brought forward her motion, it was carried unanimously, and Councillor Chong has brought forward, and as far as I'm aware, that basically covers a lot of these issues that have already been covered in the motion that's before the chair. And I do draw council's attention to the councillor's expectations, and in that it says developing a culture where inappropriate conduct and unreasonable behaviour is not tolerated, provides an environment which builds trust and confidence. Elected members will treat all people with dignity and respect, ensure their behaviour is appropriate at all times in accordance with council values, maintain a professional and safe work environment free from unacceptable conduct. So we have this document in place, as well as the two motions that have been passed in this place by the councillors I've referred to a minute ago. So why do we need this? I think it goes without saying that given we've had these two motions and we have this blueprint, which is our conduct document, councillor's statement of expectations, elected members are obliged to uphold the law and actively contribute to a healthy working environment. And that's been stated in here as well. And that is for colleagues, council employees and our community by adhering to a high standard of behaviour whenever they may be undertaking their duties. The other point that I'll make is in relation to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And of course it remains relevant today as it was back in 1948. And it's a landmark document. But local government is not recognised in the Australian Constitution. And we have to leave this sort of, Universal Declaration of Human Rights as part of our system today as to the appropriate governments. And by going through this motion and basically stating that where social and press media are constantly fueling conflict and division, we don't have to really be party to that. We can undertake our duties in a responsible and fair manner and treat everybody in the community amongst ourselves as well with respect. So I think this is unnecessary. I think we have already in place sufficient motions and the councillor's statement of expectations in place.
Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Hunter, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Goyne for bringing this to Council and for the motions that you bring continue to challenge my principles and values, and that's fabulous. And I do really appreciate that, and I spend a lot of time thinking about the motions that you bring forward, and it encourages me to reflect and grow personally, so thank you. Now, initially, I had the same sentiment as Councillor James, in that this motion reiterates a lot of things that Council is already doing, which is fabulous. And I questioned or considered not voting for this motion tonight because I strongly am principled in that I won't vote for motions or things that I think we're already achieving in other ways, and motions can be seen as a political avenue to raise something, which I don't support. However, I was reading Brené Brown's new book, Strong Ground, over the weekend, which is fabulous, by the way. I highly recommend it. And there was a lot in there about the need to hold paradox in an increasingly complex world. And what I realised was that the paradox is in myself on this motion, and that I want to be principled in my values of how I make decisions, and acknowledging what is sort of obvious and will help society and might help support some members of our community at the moment to feel included. And I realised it's not about me. It's about the community and the others around me. So thank you, Councillor Goyne. I will be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hunter. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Darko, thank you.
I raised, just to talk briefly, to remind all members that inclusion and equality require an awareness of the paradox of tolerance. And firstly, thank you for putting this forward. I really appreciate the spirit with which you've put it forward, and especially the words you said around not just being welcome, but actually feeling welcome. And the thing that hits hardest home for me on that is that in order to promote tolerance and true welcomeness, we need to have zero tolerance for intolerance. Any political stances which deny any group's humanity, their inherent value as people, has to be something that we actually stand against if we want to create an environment that's truly welcoming. For anyone to feel truly welcome and equal, we must stand by them in their fight against any hate or division that might be directed against them. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councillor Darko. Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Councillor Mulder, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll actually be abstaining on this one. Councillor Chong's motion was in relation to a specific program that was being launched by the Local Government Association of Tasmania in response to a very similar debate that we had in this chamber much earlier on than that. And I'm not going to go over all the cases of a lot of intolerance that was shown, not only to me, but to the staff and to other councillors and to the community by some councillors. But those things are behind us. And it was one thing to pass that motion, which we did before, and it was very appropriate, and I was very supportive of it. I was supportive of Councillor Chong's motion because it related to a specific program. And you would think, oh, well, you'll vote for this one because you're reaffirming it. Just how many times are we going to have these kind of motions which do nothing but reaffirm something we're already doing to be doing? So, you've got to have a look at this and say, well, and I'm not going to, to reflect on the motivations for bringing this particular motion to council at this point in time, but I'll just make it clear that we're not going to keep recycling the same motion time and time again. I won't be voting against it. That would be a terrible misrepresentation of my values. But I'm not going to encourage the continual bringing forwards of motions on the same topic. But I do notice in one thing, in the explanatory notes, Councillor Goyne says, this motion reassures the residents of Clarence that you are valued and welcome here. Well, I'd like to go a step further. I would like to ensure that people who are not yet residents of Clarence but are considering being residents of Clarence, irrespective of the country of birth, that they would also be welcome and included here. So not just restricting it to our own patch, but to extending it to the human race.
Any other colleagues wishing to make a contribution? Well, colleagues, before I call on Councillor Goyne to deliver her right of reply, I'll lead to the debate now as a councillor, not as your mayor. And as outlined in my opinion piece published in last Friday's Mercury, and as I said in this place at our last council meeting, I have very strong views on racism and discriminatory conduct in all its forms, and that there is no place for that in our city. The safety, dignity and inclusion of all residents is a shared responsibility, and as leaders in our community, we have a clear responsibility to stand up and say no to hate. Every citizen of this country, no matter where they were born, no matter their race, their creed, the colour of their skin, their sexuality or their age, has an absolute and unconditional right to be here and to participate fully in all aspects of our liberal, democratic society. In Clarence, we know our greatest strength lies in the diversity of our people and the values we share of respect, inclusion and unity. And these are not just words on paper. They are the principles that guide our council's decisions, shape our programs and define our community. As Mayor of the City of Clarence, I believe leadership in local government is instrumental in setting the tone within our communities and enabling these conversations, ensuring everyone who lives, works and visits our municipalities feels welcomed and feels safe. In March of this year, I was proud to join the 5 other Greater Hobart councils, Bryden, Glenorchy, Hobart, Kingborough and Sorell, to launch the We Stand Together Against Racism campaign. And this united effort aims to send a clear message that racism has no place in our communities. It is a call to action for all of us to speak up, stand together and build a culture where everyone feels safe, welcomed and supported. And surely that is something we can all support. Clarence is committed to creating environments and programs that reflect and support the needs of all residents. From community events to inclusive design, we strive to ensure every person feels heard, represented and valued. The safety, dignity and inclusion of all residents is a shared responsibility. I am proud, very proud of the work our council is doing to send a clear message that racial vilification and discrimination will not be tolerated. Every citizen, as I said before, regardless of race, religion, sexuality, age or ability, has the unconditional right to belong and participate fully in our democratic society. A Tasmania that embraces diversity will be a stronger, more vibrant and more prosperous state. I thank Councillor Goyne for this timely motion that I fully support and urge all colleagues to do likewise. Councillor Goyne, right of reply, please. Sorry. Oh, sorry, because I did ask before with everyone else. Councillor John.
I was going to resist and I couldn't.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, in the Venn diagram of life, obviously there is overlap between the motions that Councillor Candidate and I brought and that this council supported. But there is an overlap. This doesn't fit neatly within those, nor the other way around. If we believe what's in the papers and what we see on the news, there is a huge increase in hate crimes of all sorts, of hate speech and crimes against people, whether that's because of their religion, their race, their sexual orientation, whatever. There appears to be, and certainly there is reported, a large increase. And it behooves us, as leaders in this community and representatives of the wider local government community, to support a motion that says we should be committed to fairness, dignity and equitable opportunities for all members of our community. And I don't see how we can't support this.
Thank you, Councillor Chong. Councillor Goyne.
Thank you. Again, I reiterate that I appreciate everyone's contributions. And I understand, because I'm obviously not normally one that would bring these sort of motions to council. And if Councillor Hunter could hear the motions I bring forward in my head that don't make it to these tables, believe me, you'd be more than questioning some of your ideas. I really appreciate Councillor James. I understand that he believes that the previous motions were similar to this. However, for me, I felt they were more directed at us and our staff, and this is directing to our community. Personally, of late, I have been targeted by some hatred from people who have never had a conversation with me, never asked me a question, never asked for my opinion and my thoughts. And one of the reasons why I brought this was actually reading the Brené Brown book, who is one of my favourite authors, and I definitely suggest anybody in any position of leadership read any of her books. She emphasises that inclusivity requires courageous leadership that challenges oppressive systems, fosters belonging and encourages individuals to be their authentic selves rather than conforming. She highlights the importance of embracing discomfort, recognising the privilege of avoiding such conversations and understanding that inclusivity is not a separate task but fundamental to leadership. Effective inclusion involves creating safe spaces and confronting biases, which requires intentional and persistent action to ensure everyone feels valued, heard and understood. So I will continue to bring these motions until the world listens. I seek colleague support.
Thank you, Councillor Goyne. Well, I'll put Councillor Goyne's motion. All those in favour? Those against? An abstention? So carried. Thank you, Councillor Goyne. Moving now on to item 10, Councillors' question time. There are no questions on notice. Moving down to answers to questions without notice, previous council meeting as listed in the agenda. Moving now on to 10.4, questions without notice. Are there any questions from the floor this evening, starting with the Deputy Mayor? Councillor Ritchie. Thank you. Councillor Mulder, any questions? Councillor Hunter. Councillor James.
Firstly, are there any remedial works listed in the works program on the gravel section of Pipe Clay Esplanade in Cremorne?
Thank you, Councillor James. Mr Graham.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Council's adopted, I think, to attend to the gravel, if we're meaning Pipe Clay Esplanade unmade road, to attend to that 3 times a year as our service program, and this is what I understand our team does.
Second question, Councillor James.
Yes, thank you. There has been quite a deal of discussion about Stadiums Tasmania and the inclusion of York Park as part of that network. Are negotiations still underway to bring the Bellerive Oval into the network of Stadiums Tasmania?
Thank you. CEO, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the question. There are discussions underway, and I'd refer Councillor James back to the Deputy Mayor's motion from 1 or 2 meetings ago regarding the work that's been requested of council officers to prepare for that, but at this stage there's no direct negotiation around terms.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, any questions from you?
Yes, thank you. Mayor, so currently under the consultation area of the council website, there's a variety of matters open, and one of them is indeed the Safer Speeds, Safer Roads feedback section, so that's not a survey. The way it currently reads is that we're asking the community which roads should we review, and once a site has been identified, we will review all identified roads and provide feedback on whether any changes will go forward. Just for clarification, for the community's clarification, can we list any roads already that have been identified in a wider forum before sort of taking this approach, which sort of suggests that we might have nothing already underway?
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Please, CEO. Yeah, no, can I just jump in here too? The rules say the questions are meant to be brief as possible with minimal preamble. So please ask your question, Councillor James. Councillor Walker. Councillor James Walker. Thank you. Sorry. No, Councillor Mulder. Thank you. We won't have that tonight. Councillor Walker.
Well, then the question one will become now, what roads have we already determined that we are going to review the speed limits of?
Thank you. Mr Graham?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I don't know exactly the roads. We held a workshop, I think 2 workshop sessions ago, where we identified a whole range of roads which we will be looking at. That workshop would be on our Teams list. I can issue that through a weekly briefing report. I can't remember specifically, but we indicated about 3 to 4 different sections of roads or type of roads that we would be looking at. For example, some in 7 Mile Beach, but we talked with council at the workshop about doing exactly this, about it'd be beneficial to receive feedback from the community because they might identify other roads that our engineers may not have actually considered as part of this.
Thank you, Mr Graham. Your second question, please, Councillor Walker.
Yeah, I might just leave it at that, but I'd be interesting. Would it be possible for those answers, the report, to actually be part of the answers as listed in the agenda at the upcoming next council agenda?
Thank you. Yes, we can arrange that. Thank you. Councillor Goyne.
On the 18th of September 2024, I was provided with a response that only lawn areas within playgrounds were sprayed with herbicides. On the 30th of September, I received an email from the acting CEO saying that we did not spray in playgrounds. Recently, I was sent a photo taken on the 10th of September 2025 of staff in full PPE spraying what was confirmed by another staff member as Weedmaster Duo, which is a glyphosate herbicide, inside the Bella Reef playground, with the park being open to the public. Can the council tell me where the lawn area is within the Bella Reef playgrounds?
Thank you, Councillor Goyne. Mr Graham.
Through Mr Mayor, so we've advised Councillor Goyne, I'm not sure whether you've received that, but we issued something this afternoon to explain that herbicides within the playground areas are used to control weeds in garden beds. We don't use them in softfall areas, and there's another area that we don't use them in the sandpits. So where there are still garden beds, we'll use it because it's actually far too difficult for us to manually control. We put signage out when we're doing it. We are looking at implementing the signage as per council's adopted budget, and we are finalising the signage to help commence that at the end of the year.
Thank you, Mr Graham. Councillor Goyne, second question.
In the next budget cycle, CAP management and associated staff have allocations. Will council be assisting landowners who wish to declare their properties CAP management areas under the relevant legislation?
Thank you. Is that for you, Mr Brennan?
Possibly. Council has a preferred candidate and an April start date for a new CAP management officer. As part of that, they'll be bringing a policy to council to adopt. We'll be looking at whether council wishes to endorse or support private landowners, or whether we'll just deal with our own land. So that'll be a matter that we bring to council for a workshop.
Thank you, Mr Brennan. Councillor Darker, Councillor Warren, Councillor Chong.
Very quick one. Could I have an update on the Richmond master plan? A number of the community members think it's disappeared into a black hole.
Ms Wicks,
and they'd like an update, please.
Thank you. So, Mr Graham, thank you.
Through Mr Mayor, we're coming to a council workshop on this one. 27th of October is looking very full. If it's not that one, it'll be the one after.
Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. And perhaps following on from Councillor Walker's question recently, I'd like to know when we have had, or if we have had any recent discussions with residents from Clifton Beach about their safety concerns with the junction of Bishno Street and Clifton Beach Road.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Mr Graham.
Through Mr Mayor, I certainly don't know of that myself, but I will confirm with our officers and then advise council through answering this in the next agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Well, I'll now note that we're at item 11. I'll call for a motion to move into closed meeting, please. Councillor Goyne, seconded Councillor Chong. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Well, thank you to those members of the public who attended in person this evening and those joining us at home via the live stream. Look forward to welcoming you back here in 3 weeks' time. As always, a pleasure, Mr Carr. Thank you. And to those at home, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Please end the live feed.